Page 3. The month of May, 1943 brought about one major rank change, and that was the promotion of Technical Sergeant William Moran to Master Sergeant. When he assumed the duty of the unit's master mechanic, a few private first-class ratings were made in the ranks of the new men. The month of June, 1943 found the officers and enlisted men congratulating Lieutenant Wilson on his advance to first lieutenant. At this time, at the end of June, 1943, the men were shuffled about in the platoons once more, to reform in accordance with specialist numbers given to the men and according to the table of organization of our maintenance company. A few emergency furloughs were given during this training period and numerous passes to surrounding cities, such as Hattiesburg, Mississippi; Jackson, Mississippi; New Orleans, Louisiana; and Bogalusa, Louisiana. For the New Englanders this was a golden opportunity to see the historic sights and the economic conditions in the South. This was something many of them would never have seen, if it were not for Army travel. On the 3rd of July, 1943, the unit underwent the military training program test, that is given all basic units under 3rd Army. The unit proved itself at this time, for it attained one of the highest grades ever reached in the 3rd Army. One example of efficiency was the result of the test for physical fitness, in which the contact platoon, nicknamed Freddy's Reindeers at this time, due to the platoon sergeant Fredenberg's rigid physical training program, and specializing in marching at double time, attained the super mark of 96.3%, leaving a fine mark for future units to aim for. After the successful completion of the 3rd Army's test, the men were graduated out of the recruit class and now felt, looked, and were good American soldiers, and the unit was ready to begin its widely traveled and colorful careers, and take its place among maintenance companies. On the 17th of July 1943, upon receipt of a 3rd Army movement order numbered, 1st Headquarters Special Troops, 3A-6-370.5, Engineers GNMCC 5, dated 17th July, 1943, a wave of excitement moved through the outfit for the prospect of our first move as a unit materialized. The usual hustle and bustle in preparing for a 3,000-mile journey to Base Depot at San Bernardino, California, was apparent. Lieutenant Booth and Lieutenant Horst were placed in charge of loading the unit's T&E equipment on the railroad cars. Every one of the officers and enlisted men worked diligently to create a smooth move. On the 24th of July, 1943, the 965th Engineers left Camp Shelby Railroad siding on the cross-country jaunt, using the southern route, crossing portions of Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona and California, leaving behind a great many newly formed friendships. Loaded on the 40 cars, with baggage car for a kitchen, Pullman cars for the personnel and flat cars for the vehicles, we rolled across the various states, stopping at fairly regular intervals for exercise, and to check the equipment on the train. The mess, being tried for the first time at cooking with field equipment, fed the men with well-prepared meals and always right on schedule. What follows is Albert Benecki's accounts of the 965th movements from Fort Shelby, Mississippi, to Base General Depot, San Bernardino, California on the 24th July 1943. His voice account was taken from his Library of Congress testimonial CD tapes.
So you're at Camp Shelby, right? For how long?
Probably until really July of '44. And at that point, they had decided I guess we had to do something. So what they did was they just directly into Camp Shelby, they got these big flatbed railroad cars, and we drove our trucks on these cars and tied them down. And along with that, they had several Pullman cars with porters.
You were getting the treatment.
Yeah, so we crossed the country, towing with this, made up one whole train, with all of our trucks. We had, I don't know how many, a pile of trucks. And on this, they loaded us on this train. We had no idea what we were doing. We ended up in Los Angeles, taking the southern route down along through Arizona, along the border down here. And we've done, and then I guess my motor drove down to Yuma, Arizona,
Okay.
and spent some time in Yuma, and we were
Doing what? What were you doing in Yuma?
setting
It's
up our-
desert country.
Well, why do you think we were there?
I don't know, I'm gonna ask
All
you
right.
that question.
No,
What
North
is it?
Africa. Now, nobody ever said this, but that's people get, why am I down here setting up my equipment? It's so hot you can't stand it, see? And why are we doing this? And the only thing, and then we would practice convoy driving with our machinery, and we drove from there. We go up by the Salton Sea up to what is now Palm Springs and all those places. Nothing up there. Indio and all those places.
Was the scuttlebutt going through the maintenance battalion? That's where you were going?
No, there was none of that. I don't think we ever heard that.
Okay.
And I think also during all this time, I think that the African parenting was pretty well under control. And so we spent that time, we drove back and forth, I don't know how many times in convoy, practice so you don't keep them on those things. Anyway.
This concludes Albert's accounts of the 965th movements from Camp Shelby to Base General Depot in California.